that stood out to me is about the whole college thing and getting the house, because I'm like the only one that's trying to be better with my finances in my family. So I'm trying to be the ceiling for my other family members, and my sister's about to go to college too. So this will be something I can share with her and, you know, future kids and all of that and such.
Anybody else?
One of the takeaways that I have is that wealth is foundational principles and systems that you must operate under. It's not a one-to-one relationship with money. That is riches.
What I had was do what you have to do until you have what you want to do.
One that I had was that if you're giving, to be mindful of when you're putting out money, if it's making you money back or if you're just spending it to spend it.
One that I had was to cut out competition in relationships and to look at either like your friend, spouse, or etc. as a blessing, and when they know like more things and like you kind of like build off of that.
Anybody else? All right, thank you everybody who shared. All right, so we're gonna start our second session now. Guys, take it away.
Definitely. All right. So how was the food, everybody? Delicious. Delicious. I enjoyed it.
Elijah set me up. So he's supposed to have a nice salad waiting for me, and I think he just wanted me to experience the true, authentic Kenyan style of food, but I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
It was good. And shout out to the cook and to those who served. Yes. I heard only one person made all that food. Now that is a gift. That's incredible. So thank you. We really appreciate it. It was delicious. So welcome back, everybody. We're heading into our second session, so we had some good dialogues with folks. So before we were leaving, we were heading out, and we all gave a proverb on your circle, your tongue, and your vision. So I recommend that folks read the book of Proverbs every time there's 31 days in a month, and it'll definitely bless you. So we've been going over foundational principles. We had you do your values. We had you identify some of your gifts. The reason we're doing all of this is because you have to know who you are in order to be firm in that, to go where you're going in a healthy way. I think the scripture says, what profiteth a man to gain the world and lose his soul? And really, when you don't have foundational principles in place, that is exactly what will happen, because money will change you if you don't know who you are before it gets to you. So really refine that. So for us, we have a mission when it comes into our business. So I'm going to share that with you guys. And the way that we came up with this, a question came up over lunch, was what do you do next? How are you supposed to do what you do? How do you stay accountable? And Elijah and I were a part of a group some years ago, a small group of 5, where we held each other accountable. And now, let me pull this up. Boop, boop, boop. And now we don't have that group anymore, but we meet together and we have a strategic plan for ourselves in the business that we have. Strategic, I'm trying to pull it up. There it goes. So our strategic plan when it comes to our business is, I'm just gonna go over our mission and our vision. Whoops, okay, here, take him. All right. So when it comes to our mission, when it comes to real estate and our real estate business, it is to create, preserve, and provide diverse quality housing for all and advocate for housing inclusion. And then when it comes to our shared vision, right, this is our mission. Our mission is what we want to accomplish. Our vision is what we see, how we see accomplishing that. And that's to provide diverse housing in every community. and we shared with you our values that we had for our business. So for you all, I want you to think about what is your mission and what is your vision in life. What are you here to do and accomplish? Not, I'm here to get saved, I'm here to die and go to heaven, I'm here to, any of those things. Those things are great. But what are you here for? When you look at your set of gifts that you wrote down, when you look at the values that you created, what is it that you are designed to do? Is it, I'm here, go ahead, Elijah.
No, I was going to say, and maybe this is not, a lot of you may not have the answer to that. So this is thought-provoking. This is to get you to start thinking of your life and your purpose a little bit differently. So if you're struggling with being able to come up with a complete vision, mission right now, that's okay. We're not putting you on a spot to be able to come up with, because this is heavy work. This is shadow work. This is like being able to know yourself better, being in line with your purpose and your vision, and being able to, even if you did have all of that, how do you articulate that? Like how she just came up with our mission and vision. She's a word, what did they call you? A word ninja? A
Wordsmith.
Wordsmith? Or, no, it was something else. You said it in the car when we pulled up.
I
But
know.
I wouldn't have had said it like that. And that's okay. But I kind of like, I know what my vision is and I know what my mission is, but packaging it in a way that's articulated and stuff like that, that's something totally different. So I'm just saying, step by step, okay? This is not, we're not trying to put pressure on you,
Right.
but we are,
Yes.
but we're not.
Yeah. So I just want you guys to think beyond where you are right now. So how about this? Someone give me your gift. And give me what you think your greatest gift is and what is your foundational principle, one of the values, your top value, you would say. Anybody volunteer? Go ahead. So this is how a mission of Melissa's could look like, or a vision. I envision child care centers where children feel like they're at home. My mission in life is to provide safe spaces for children, safe, nourishing, loving spaces for children. That's my mission. My mission is to provide safe, loving spaces for children. You guys see where I'm going with this? Anybody else want to go, and I'll go off the top of the head. Give me your top gift and your top value. Okay. So I would say I desire to encounter people and always have them leave my presence feeling greater than they walked into it. And the mission that I live by is holding myself accountable to be all God created me to be, utilizing my gift of emotional intelligence to manifest the kingdom of God on earth. Hopefully you're recording, because I'm not recording. I can't repeat that. Who else wants to go?
I was going to say, you couldn't even repeat that if you tried.
I couldn't. Who else wants to give me their gift and their value? Go ahead.
One of the gifts that I have is speaking, and one of my values is compassion.
I envision a world where my words carry weight that heals the souls of others. My mission is to always speak from a place of authenticity and power. That's it.
Wait, so how are you doing that?
It's a gift.
Okay.
It is, though. It is.
I know.
So this doesn't have to be it. I'm just telling you what's coming to me as you're giving me your words and how I can see that in your life.
So when you're operating under your gift and under your element, it comes with a sense of ease. Like it's not, yes, you can craft it, you can make it a little bit more polished and professional, but at the core of it, it just rolls off, just like as you see in Jasmine.
Yeah. Anybody else want to go? Don't be shy. Did you raise your hand? Value.
My value is showing compassion.
Okay. So my mission is to provide elite care via impact to athletes. My mission is to provide elite care and impact to athletes. I envision a world where I support athletes achieve their higher self. Anything else? Good? All right. So we won't do an exercise here. I kind of just did in real life person how I would take your gift and your value and graft it into a mission and vision. But it's your job to see that for yourself. And you can do this with time. As you leave here and you begin to think about things, I'm trying to give you literally a strategic plan for your life so that you can move forward. And as you build your wealth, you have a solid foundation. Because if you don't have a solid foundation, things don't go the way that they should. So can I get the next slide, please? So I'm going to get into this next topic where we're going to break down a couple of key elements when it comes to building wealth. So I saw somebody doing this earlier. Clock it. So let's clock it. Let's get into it. Next one. So clock it stands for something. So it stands for something. Each letter is significant in order for you to build the proper levels of wealth that you need. So I'm going to run through this so that we can get to the next part of this as well, which is C. We talked about this under Proverbs. C is for circle of friends / influence. The book of Proverbs tells us that we should only make good friends, that we should run away from bad people. So why do you do that? Because there are certain people that will attract you to a level that you are supposed to be at, and there are other people that are there to attract you to a level you're not supposed to be at. Your job is to make sure that your friends are always in the group that God designed for you to have. You are going to have to cut some people off. There is somebody in your life that smokes, that drinks, that cusses, that is fornicating, that is negative, rebellious, disrespectful. You name all of those things, and some of you might be those things as well. This is a nice point of self-reflection. If that's you, then you have the decision to not be that, because essentially you're keeping yourself at a level that you shouldn't be at. You cannot obtain the levels of wealth you desire being toxic and being around toxic people. What it does is it actually detracts from the momentum you need to get where you're going. Because money needs currency. It needs to be moving. And the thing that can block your money from moving is people. Number one thing that can block your money from moving is people. The people you're choosing to be around you. Vice versa, we showed you about people in our lives that have influenced us and have propelled our wealth building. So your job is to identify those people for you and to honor and respect them when you encounter them, and to be able to even know that they exist. The letter L is for life lessons. A lot of us do not like to make mistakes. But when it comes to wealth building, you have to be willing to make mistakes so that you can gain the wisdom to excel. It's not make mistakes on purpose. It's while I'm attempting to do the thing that's right, I am going to make mistakes on the way. And that's okay, because you can gain more information through a mistake sometimes than by doing something right all of the time. Does that make sense?
And just like replacing the word mistake with lesson, a life lesson.
Yes.
Right? Like I had the opportunity to learn from this lesson.
Yes.
Instead of articulating it from a mistake point of view.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So relationships that you leave, relationships that you enter into, maybe you made a business decision that didn't land you with profits, but it actually landed you with a lot of wisdom to help you avoid losing profits in the future. So if you experience life and always extract the wisdom from your experiences, you can never lose. I always say, I don't lose, I only learn. I don't care if it looks like I lost money on paper, I didn't lose, because I gained so much wisdom that I'm never going to make that mistake again, whatever it was that landed for that type of loss. But I am going to extract a bunch of things I'm going to learn about myself. So that's how we navigate life and build our wealth once it begins coming to us. Opportunity is an idea and a person. So a lot of wealth can come to you by being able to identify opportunities. So if I came to you today and I said, I'm selling my car and it's a 2023 Honda Accord and I need to hurry up and get rid of it and I'm selling it for $5,000, who would see that as an opportunity? Why would that be an opportunity?
I think that's an opportunity because of 2023
Mm-hmm.
Honda Accord is not going for $5,000 anywhere.
What do you think it's going for?
I think it's definitely going to go for maybe 10, 15.
The 20s.
Yeah, probably higher than but
Yep.
even still.
But you knew. So if you had $5,000 and you knew that that car was worth more than that $5,000, that's an opportunity that you got to be able to see when it comes. And they come quick and in a hurry, and you cannot be sitting on your hands waiting. You can't be second guessing. You can't be, which is why when you know your values, when you know your gifts, when you know where you're headed, you know how to see opportunities better. But you might have a life lesson in that. That might have came your way and you might have hesitated. But our friend in the front here with the rhinestone sweater, he knew that was an opportunity. He didn't hesitate, and he snatched that car up. Go ahead, Elijah. No. You had something to say? And then he goes around and he decides to sell it because he don't even need the car.
I was gonna say he might be flipping it. 'Cause if he knows his numbers that much and jumps on an opportunity like that, he knows that he can just offload it at least for double the money.
Literally, and that's opportunity. And opportunity comes like that. It comes quick, in a hurry, but you got to know when it shows up, and you can't be hesitating. If you do, it'll just be a life lesson, and you'll learn from it. And we had these life lessons. We have a few houses that we sold in 2016 and 18 that we wish we never sold, because had we not sold them, those houses we bought, that say one house we bought for $150,000, today it's worth $450,000, but we sold it. And so we lost the opportunity for that wealth to build. Another house we bought for $150 is probably worth $525 right now. We sold it. We lost that opportunity because we didn't have patience for those particular properties. And if we had patience, we would have reaped the reward. If we held it longer than we thought we should have, we would have actually reaped the benefit out of it. So the next thing is consistency is currency. Youth leader Elijah downstairs was asking about, I know what to do, but how do I make sure that I do the thing that I know I'm supposed to do? One, I said, know the next thing you're supposed to do. What is the next step? One next step. And then you just need to be consistent with it. Many of you think that you need 100 steps before you can move. No, you need to know what your mission is, what your vision is, what your values are, what your gifts are, and what's the one next step. At least one next step of where you're headed. And after you do that, God will reveal to you what the step after that is. And sometimes he might give you 5 at a time, but all you need to do is one thing at a time. But most of the times, if I told you the next 5 steps you needed, you'll probably be handicapped because, it's too many things. There's too many things. So, okay, just one. What's the one next thing that you all need to do? Matter of fact, here, we're talking about wealth, purpose, and money. Somebody tell me what's the one next thing from what we've talked about thus far that you need to do. Execute. Seems simple, but it's really hard to actually execute if you don't hold yourself accountable. So K is for kill doubt with discipline. So and this is where Elijah was talking about, where the enemy plants particular seeds. Where do you have doubt in your life that the enemy has planted and you don't even see that the enemy has planted it? Where does that exist, and how do you kill it with consistency? So I like to say doubt. So anytime the enemy, like for instance, right, I got 2 kids under 3, I'm running businesses with my husband. Doubt will tell me there's no way you can manage this all. Well, I doubt the doubt. Okay, Satan, you must be saying this because I can't handle it. Because by the grace and mercies of God, I am handling it. Doesn't mean that the doubt still doesn't come and drop in every so often. But I have to doubt the doubts that are there. A lot of moms, I was just having a conversation with a few moms on this. When women become mothers and they transition into motherhood, many times there's an identity crisis because who you were has passed away. And you've become something new, kind of like when we get saved in Christ, right? You're no longer not a mom, you're now a mother, and you're mothering. Let me see him. Yeah. Oh, she's coming to get her? Go ahead. He's tired. So you're a mother now, right? But now mothering looks different for you. Mothering, you've never been a mom before. And so now you need to learn to be that, and you can learn to be that relatively quickly because God designed you for that. But now you're wondering, but who am I? Who am I really? Yes, a mom is a pivotal role that I hold, but who you are inside is conflicting with that motherhood role. And you have to figure out how to juggle the gifts that God has given you along with motherhood. So Melissa, you're a new mom. You love children. She has a children now to mother on her own. But the dream of children and serving children doesn't die just because you become a mom. Now may be manifesting and agitating even more because now you're having a lot of still time with your baby. You're having a lot of that one-on-one to be with yourself and your child. And now that yearning is, Lord, I know I'm made for more. Motherhood is magnificent, but I know I'm made for more. I'm more dynamic than the one thing. And that's okay. How do you be more than the one thing? What's the one next step? Is it a certification I have to get? Is it a part-time job that I need to get? Is it working in the youth ministry at my church? Is it starting the youth ministry at the church? I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you these could be signs for you. What were you good at before you were a mother? How can you now implement that in a different way now that you are a mother? It might engraft motherhood. As my example, I'm a wealth builder. I teach on building wealth, but I'm also a mother now of 2 kids under 3, and now I bring my kids on the journey with me. You see Cash is here. His name is Cash. Cash is here. He's here. He's a part of this. I'm giving you a insight into what wealth building looks like on the ground. We're creating the life that we want to live by the grace and mercies of God, and our children are coming with us. He's here with us. I'm not stressed because he's agitated. My perspective is everything. Thank God helping hands have come. My niece came and helped as well. You know, you figure this thing out as you go, but you got to change your perspective many times and really look. I'm helping you put it together. What are the gifts? What are my values? What is my mission? What is my vision? What's the one next step I need to do to bring that to pass? So you're going to kill doubt and you're going to replace it with discipline. What area are you going to pick up that's discipline? What's the one next step? What's the one thing you're going to follow through on and execute step by step? These same rules apply with everything that you do when you're pursuing wealth. Next is, I see the next step. What is the next step? You all know what the next step for you is. You just need to do it. And then your tongue. So I've been marinating on prayer lately, meaning prayer is literally the highest ability for you to change your circumstance, change your perspective, change your relationship. And it's all because it's in your tongue, right? Proverbs tells us life and death is in our tongue. I'll take them back. Getting mad. Life and death is in your tongue. So you have the ability to shape your life, how you desire it. And you can partner with God in that because he's already put everything that we talked about, the Lord already put inside of you. What you value, the Lord put that in you. What your gifts are, the Lord gave you those gifts. Now it's your decision on how you're going to use them. Next slide. So the foundational scripture for this event is Ecclesiastes 7, 11, and 12. Now we're getting into the part where you guys want to talk about money. So wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that see the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. So this scripture is essentially telling us that it's not the money that's going to make you. It's the wisdom. It's the wisdom of what to do with the money. And we can give you an inheritance, but if you don't have wisdom, you will fumble the inheritance. I could give you all $1 million right now if I had it. And most would fumble that $1 million, even with everything we just taught here. One of the other principles was you take it, you don't spend it. Once it's gone, it can't make you no more money. But you take that and you put it somewhere to make you more money, and you live off what it makes you, not off the principle, not off the core of it. Next slide. So how many people have ever read The Richest Man in Babylon? 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. 4 people. So this is another great book you should add to your library at your house, which is, these are the fundamental rules of money. So they are super simple, yet 99.9% of people don't follow them. And they don't follow them because they're actually really simple. It doesn't seem like it makes sense. So rule number 1, somebody read off rule number 1 to me.
Can you guys see it from there or no?
Who got 20/20 vision?
Rule number 1 is start thy purse to fattening. For every 10 coins you place in your purse, spend only 9. Save money.
All right. That seems simple, right? Yeah. So how many of us at least save 10% of our money? 2, 3, 4. I didn't say pay tithes. I said save. Great. Nice. How many save at least 20%? The Joseph 20. Nice. Who saves over 20%? Nobody, really. 1? Great. How much percentage do you save? 60%? You're saving 60% of your money. Are you still at home? Yeah. Excellent. So go ahead.
What's your saving strategy? Like,
Oh, this was very off guard, but I budget. Like, I budget on an Excel sheet, and I try to stick to that. And I also, on like my free, quote unquote, free spending money, I try not to spend it all, so it accumulates the next month, like that. Something like that, I guess.
how'd you learn that?
Challenges of life pushed me to learn that, so I don't get back in the same situation.
So you didn't learn it from your parents?
Not really, yeah.
Well, you can say yes. You learned, like, so for example, if your parents were bad with money, you learned how to be good with money because of the lessons that you learned from your parents. Now, I'm not putting your parents on the spot. I'm not putting you on the spot.
I would say my grandparents were good with money, so I learned from my grandparents. But then my parents were a little bit bad with money, so I also learned from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. 60%. You don't hear that.
That's
But
excellent.
she said the B word, budget. Everyone, like, they can't stand that because you want what you want. You want to drive what you want to drive. You want to wear what you want to wear, date who you want to date. No one wants to be disciplined, and they don't want to budget. They don't want to be told what they can buy, how much money they can spend. But those foundational principles can actually lead you to where you want to go.
Right. So that's phenomenal. You're part of the 1%, which is a good thing. But then there's the other piece to that, which is savings isn't how you get wealthy. It's investing is how you get wealthy. So you need to save, and then you need to know where to put your savings, which is more so later on the other side of the chart. But let's go to number 2. Who wants to read number 2?
Two, control thy expenditures. Budget your expenses so you may have money to pay for your necessities, to pay for your enjoyments, and to gratify your desires without spending more than 9/10 of your earnings. Don't spend excess.
All right. So we've got our income that we're saving, and then we've got our expenses. So this is essentially telling you, you cannot spend everything that you earn. You got to control the spending. So the basic principle of wealth is more has to come in than goes out, and you need to put the rest somewhere else. And you have to decide what that rest is. So the young woman puts aside 60%. The goal is to put aside as much as you possibly can. And the way you do that is by controlling your expenses. So all of you, you're going to get a car. How many of you have a car? Okay. So you're going to go through a car probably every 5 to 10 years of your life. So you're going to have an opportunity to get a whole lot of vehicles. Now, the vehicle is one of the biggest things that's going to suck your money. It is expensive to have a car. And we don't always talk about that. We think that just getting the car is the big part, but it's not. Now you got to pay for that car. Did you get a payment on it, or did you pay cash? How much did you decide to pay? Then you got to insure it. Then you've got maintenance. Then you've got inspections. Then you've got registration. Then you've got repairs. Before you know it, this car has become so expensive to have. And that's taking away money for you to build wealth for your future. How many of you have a home, or your parents own the home? All right, about 50% of you. Now that home has an expense. You can choose a very expensive house. You can choose a modest house. The house that you choose, again, is going to add or take away from the wealth that you can build. Now, right now, houses have gotten really expensive. Houses have gotten really expensive, and you can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $230,000, or you can get one for $500,000, or you can get one for $1 million. Now, the house that you choose to get is your choice, but the house you get is going to determine if you can build wealth or not. A house by itself doesn't make you wealthy. It has to grow in value. Now, the reason I'm talking about cars, houses, how much you're saving, is because those are the 2 biggest things that are going to take away from your future to build wealth. Most people, when they get their first car, they want to get the big thing. They want to get the big car, the big flashy car to impress other people. But what I'm telling you is get the modest car. When it comes to your first home, I want you to get the modest first house. Why? Because you have a lot of time to live this life, to grow in what you can become. I want you to grow into what is nice. Many times we think that we're entitled to something nice from day one. And here's a story from my husband and I. When him and I got together and we bought our first house, which was a 2-family, before we moved and got that 2-family, my husband loved luxury vehicles. He his lineage has an affinity for nice things, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know, some lineages are designed to be wealthy, but you have to do the right things in order to really walk in wealth. But you can see in different families where the essence of wealth should be. And now if it's manifested is based on the decisions people make. So my husband comes from a lineage where nice cars are the thing. And when we met, you were driving a Hyundai Sonata he got for graduation. But before that, you were driving something else. I don't remember what you were driving. But he had the Hyundai.
Ford Taurus.
Ford Taurus. Humble beginnings. Ford Taurus in the beginning. But his mom always had Cadillacs. His mom and dad always had Cadillacs. So that's what he came from. So naturally, at some point, he's going to get a Cadillac because that's how he was raised. So he had the Ford Taurus. His mom and dad got him a Hyundai Sonata at graduation. After that vehicle, he got a Jaguar. And you were only how old?
I think it was probably, what, like 22? 1?
21, I think.
21?
I had EJ at the day before I turned 19.
Yeah,
and
so I
you
was
had
21.
just gotten the car.
21.
So yeah. So he was 21, driving a Jaguar. We didn't have a house at that point. We were living, I had a low income apartment. Make it make sense. That don't make no sense. The car payment was more than the rent. How is that possible? But those are the things that will prevent you from building wealth. So after that, you ended up getting what kind of car? He got a Cadillac after that.
That was a step down.
A step down from the Jaguar. It was still a pricey payment. Had a payment on it. It was still a pricey payment. And then at that point, we were in the two-family. The Jag got left before we got into the two-family. So
That probably allowed us to get the two-family because now the payments were a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably freed us up a little bit. But that's how I was raised. I was raised, my dad always dressed nice, and my mom always dressed nice, and they always drove nice. And that's just what I idolized. That it wasn't until I met Jasmine, she opened my eyes to that. But just because she opened my eyes to it, that didn't make it easy. That was the hardest but best decision that I have made in my entire life thus far as it relates to financing and breaking the poverty chain. Because that allowed me to not put my lock, stock, and barrel in materialistical things and change my mindset. And my mind shifted from materialistical things as status to more so building and accumulating assets, properties, things that bring money to you, not things that take money from you. It's a very simple principle. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. It's very simple.
definitely. So I implore you, as you're going to begin to build your wealth, the house that you buy, the car that you buy, the apartment that you rent, decide to go modest first and allow your money to make you money. And as your money makes you money, then and only then, when you have more than enough of it, go ahead and upgrade your lifestyle. But don't upgrade your lifestyle now when you still got 80, 100 more years to live. What are you going to upgrade it to? You can't actually upgrade it because you're using all of the money. You can't make any more money because all your money's gone.
That's a good point. I was just talking to somebody on break, and they had asked me a question, and we were breaking down. They asked, how do I know how much I can afford for a house? And I said, well, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. When you go to the bank is going to ask you for your salary. So they're going to look at your salary, look at your paycheck, and they're going to say, okay, well, here is what we will allow you to borrow from us. Based on you getting paid, let's say $1,000 a week, you make $4,000 a month, we will allow you to borrow, let's say, $200,000 for a mortgage. That's what you can afford. But the bank doesn't know that you have a car payment. Well, they may know that you have a car payment, but let's say, for example, let's say you're not working locally. So you have that car payment, but your fuel, instead of $400 a month, let's say you work in New York, now that fuel turns into $1,500 a month. Well, the bank is not going to know that. So you actually have to take the bank's budget, and then you take your realistic budget, and now you create a plan of what you can afford based off of what you know that's coming out of as far as expenses on your personal side. So the bank is going to allow you to, I don't know, get a $250,000 mortgage, which is, let's say that's $1,000 a month. But let's say the rest of your bills is $3,000 a month. Now you're at ground zero. It doesn't make sense. So don't let the bank tell you what you can get, and don't max out on that, because now you're not going to have enough money to live. You're not going to have enough money to put aside for emergency expenses and repairs, because it's not when the furnace is going to go. It's not if, it's when, because it's definitely going to go. It's a house. You're definitely going to have a toilet leak. If you have a multifamily, you're definitely going to get a phone call from a tenant about X, Y, or Z. Do you have the money to address that issue, right? Do you have an emergency account? Do you have a repair reserve account to take care of that when it happens? All right, so don't max out on what your bank will allow you to get.
So that's good. And how old you guys are is not an excuse for not to have these principles in place for you. So you're learning this so that you can be ahead at a younger age. Because you don't have to do right by money when you get 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. You can do right in your teens, in your 20s, and then take off from there. So the next rule of money is, and other thing, when it comes to being principled with modesty. Our first house, we were approved, I think, for about $300,000. We only took $150,000. The next time we were approved for about $500,000, we only took $150,000.
Did we get a single family?
We got a two-family. A two-family we turned into a three-family. Then we went to another two-family. Then we bought a mobile home.
What's the importance of, what's the importance of our first property that we bought being a multifamily versus a single family? Because,
Yes.
right, the majority of people that we talk to, they want, the majority of people that we talk to, they want that single family, which is fine if you do not want to go down the route of building wealth via real estate in the multifamily aspect. It's completely fine. But if that's one of your goals, if you want to build wealth via real estate, then there's proper steps that you have to take in order to get there faster.
Yes. So buying a multifamily can help you build wealth faster for two reasons. Number one, if you buy a multifamily, odds are your tenant is going to be paying most, if not all, of the mortgage. So if you go buy a single family, who is there to help you pay that mortgage? It's going to be you, right? So let's just say you have a $1,000 mortgage. You go buy the $1,000 mortgage house, you got to pay that every month, and let's just say your household budget is $2,000. You've got $1,000 left to pay for the car, do all those expenses related to it, to eat, and then to live and enjoy life, and then don't forget to save. $2,000 got to stretch. Say you take that same amount that you bought that house for, and you got yourself a 2-family, or a 3-family, or a 4-family. You have the opportunity now to get 3 paychecks to help pay for that rent, to pay for that mortgage, because now you own the place. And now essentially on the left side, you got to put out $1,000. On the right side, they could be putting $1,000 in your pocket. So now you could take that $1,000 you would have spent over here, take the $1,000 that they're giving you extra, and now you could potentially have $2,000 extra dollars to put to work for you.
And that's an example of an asset versus a liability. One is putting money in your pocket. Yeah. The other one is taking money out of your pocket. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we went the 2-family route and turned it into a 3-family. So when we lived there for 2007 to 2010, for those years, we never paid a mortgage out of our pocket because the tenants were paying the entire mortgage. And then when the 3rd floor got finished, then we were getting money into our pocket as well. So we were covering all of the bills and then put money in our pocket. So if we were wise at that time, what we should have been doing is taking all of that money we would have been spending and putting it somewhere to make more money. So now we didn't do it at that point. Now you can do it at this point because you're young and you can buy a house with that sort of wisdom so that you can really get your money moving. So number 3, make your gold multiply. So this is to put each coin saved into laboring that it may reproduce its kind and help bring you income, a stream of wealth that shall flow constantly into your purse. Make your money work for you. Money has a job, and it's only going to do what you tell it to do. Most of us don't give our money a job. Our money runs from us. Be the one that's providing the new nail polishes for the nail techs that are going around and the little nail supplies that go with it. You got to start flipping your thinking and putting your money to work in that way. So I want to challenge you all, wherever you guys spend money, I want you to hear my voice when you're spending money and ask yourself, is this money coming back to me? And if it's not, should I be spending it? The car that you're picking, is this the car that Jasmine said fits the criteria? If it's not, run away from it. Is this the house I should be buying? If it's not, run away from it. If what you're getting is not going to allow money to come back to you, we have to second guess if that's something that we actually need. Now, you need to eat, so I can't tell you don't eat, but you shouldn't be eating out all the time, although it's expensive right now, but you can still budget your money and eat good at home. So number 4 is guard your treasures from loss. So this is essentially telling you there's no get-rich-quick schemes in the world of wealth. Money and go give it to your cousin that has no evidence of being successful because they said that they're going to give you this much money back. Don't be foolish with money. Do not be foolish with money. Be principled with your money. Do research. Get wise counsel. And it's not wise counsel that has never done the thing that you want to do. So your counsel should come from someone that has done what you want to do. So if you want real estate, well, I would be somebody that you talk to. If you want to talk to somebody about mining, well, I've never mined before, so you're going to have to find somebody that's an expert in mining. I've never done manufacturing before. You'd need to find somebody in the manufacturing space. Your job is to get information from relationships that are connected to the thing it is you want to do, not from somebody that doesn't have any insight whatsoever. Number 5, make your dwelling a profitable investment. So own your home. Nobody can displace you typically if you're still pay your, and in America, you still got to pay your taxes and your insurance. But that's important. Ensure a future income. So provide in advance for the needs of your growing age and the protection of your family. So how many of you are getting older? Every day, right? Every day we're getting older. You're going to be 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and 100. You're going to have grandchildren. You're going to become the rich auntie and the rich uncle. Hopefully that's the case. So you must be planning for your future because the future's coming, whether you're prepared for it or not. And many of us can look up to our parents and say, are they prepared for the age that they currently are right now? Have they put aside them? Did your parents do any of these things? Did your grandparents do any of these things? The young woman told us the difference between one generation to a next generation. They say that it takes 2 generations to lose wealth. One to get it, one to squander it. Does it make any sense for that to be the case? So your job in wealth building is to also pass down the information so that you have a legacy of wealth builders and to learn to protect it and preserve it. But in order to build it, you really need to be putting the money somewhere. And we're all making money. Number 7 is increase the ability to earn. So cultivate your own powers to study. Are you going to be in the school of lifelong learners? Not getting degrees, I didn't say, but lifelong learning in terms of, are you going to always be trying to elevate your mind to another level? Amen. So you should never stop learning. Right now, artificial intelligence is here. Who has been studying artificial intelligence? How many? 1, 2, maybe I saw 3. Artificial intelligence, your life is changing. All of our lives are changing. And nobody here but 2 to 3 people are studying artificial intelligence. Jobs are changing right before your eyes. A lot of people are starting to get let go because artificial intelligence is replacing their job. You got to study the times. Who was it? I can't remember who it was in the Bible, but in the Bible, there was a gentleman that had the gift of discerning of times and seasons. That's a gift to ask God to have, to discern the times and the seasons that you're in so that you know what to study, when to study, so that you know where to invest and where not to invest. The Bible is an excellent blueprint to give you insight into ancient knowledge. There is nothing new under the sun. So you can choose to extract the wisdom out of the ancient book or not. But if you do, you can live a more prosperous life, a more wealthy life, because there's tons of information in there for you to prosper. So, anything stand out to anybody here? Thank you, honey. Anything? What's the biggest one that seems like, oh, that's so simple, or, oh, I didn't think of that one? Young man in the sweater?
I really like number 2. A lot of the time when I'm on social media, you'll see like a lot of like millionaires or billionaires say that even if it's like a tiny amount of money, it's still very important that you like minimize the amount of expenditure, especially like something like not writing down your money. You know, if you spent $30 on gas money and another $30, and then you're like, hey, where's that $60 I had? You're not gonna know where it is because you know you didn't control your expenditures.
Right. Absolutely. Anybody else? Biggest takeaway from this. This is the wealth map. The 7 high-level wealth principles of how you will build wealth. Go ahead.
What stood out to me was to buy assets and not liabilities.
Yes.
Because I've been doing research into stocks and stuff, and that kind of stood out.
Right. So another thing about buying assets and liabilities, and we touched on it, is you want to get the maximum growth out of the assets that you're buying. So we showed you examples of 2 assets we sold ahead of time that could have gave us more growth potential. And a lot of times we get emotional when we buy investments. So I'll ask you guys a question. Who do you think is better at investing? A person with stock market experience, a regular smegular person that's just studying, or somebody who's dead? Go ahead, Mattia. A, B, or C?
Well, it's not going to be the person who's dead. I want to say the regular person because you said they're studying.
Okay.
So that I believe they'll probably perform well when it comes to investing because they're studying it.
Yeah. So the person actually.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Real world experience.
Okay. So the answer is actually the one who is dead. You want to know why? Because they're not emotional. They made their investments, they're dead. they're dead, or they lost their Bitcoin password, or they forgot they even had investments. All of those people are the best investors because they never sell. You're dead, you can't sell. You lost the Bitcoin password, you can't sell. Those are the people that are the best investors. So one of the biggest takeaways you can take with investing is you cannot be emotional with investing. I have tons of friends, super emotional. Got scared when Bitcoin came down, cashed out. Now Donald would have been a millionaire. I had other people have stocks that they cashed out because it looked like it was getting crazy. The market dipped. They could have been millionaires right now. But because they were emotional and they couldn't ride the wave, the stock market goes like this. But when you're in it, all you feel is, oh my God, I'm losing money, I'm losing money, I'm losing money. No, the stock market comes back up. It moves just like this. And it keeps rising. If you look at Apple stock, that's the trajectory. But when people were in the small timeline, it didn't feel that way. But when now we have all this history of information, what is the stock? If somebody would have invested $10,000 in NVIDIA 20 years ago, they would be like $100 millionaire. Just $10,000. Crazy, right? So principle, but you had to have that extra $10,000 to invest. You only would have had it if you did 1 and 2. Saved and controlled your expenses. So any questions on that? Go ahead.
When you're, so like to your example, when you're saying, okay, if somebody was to invest $10,000 in NVIDIA years ago, then they could be like a multi-millionaire now. So I guess my question is investing another form of saving, or are saving and investments two separate categories?
So they're two separate categories. So you need to save in order to invest. So you gotta, income minus expenses equals what's left, but you can put your savings up top. And that's really what a lot of wealth people say is you pay yourself first. So we have our millionaire mentor, and he says, every time I get paid, 10% right off the top goes straight into the stock market. He knows his 20 stocks he's investing in. He pulls his app up. He says which one looks like it's performing lower than it usually is. He splits the money up, puts it there, sets it and forget it. But he has a system. The system is 10% off the top of every dollar that comes in. He doesn't wait to the end. Top, like this one, number 1, 10%. He said, I don't pay anybody but myself first. And then he sets it and forgets it. Puts it in, drops it in, boom. So you need to save in order to be able to invest. You got to put that aside. And then there's traditional savings, which is like emergencies. You want to have some liquid cash available in case that there's an emergency that you got to tap into it. So typically that's your emergency fund. You should have roughly around 3 to 6 months of money to cover your expenses. The only way you're going to know what your expenses are is if you track them, if you write them down. And if you do that, you'll be okay. Now, the government was just shut down. Did you guys know that? It was shut down for like almost a month. How many of those people do you think had any savings? They couldn't even last a month, and they couldn't even last a week, and they were at the soup kitchen. They couldn't even last 2 weeks, and they were getting evicted from their homes because they did not save any money. Go ahead, Melissa.
Oh, I have a question. Would you recommend, because like you said, like the government just got finished being shut down and stuff, would you recommend having all your savings and like, well, I know having your savings split up into different accounts is smart, but would you recommend having all your savings in the bank, or would you like recommend having like cash money?
So I would recommend a mix of both. So you should always have, we call it petty cash. You should always have some emergency money. Like that's like California was on fire. and people had to flee their houses immediately, and cash is king at that point because the computer systems are going down, and you need to be able to trade something of value for something of value. So you should always have that. You should always, what the word says, you should have 8 streams of income because you don't know where the next disaster is coming from. That's my paraphrasing, so I didn't say it exactly the way. But that's the scripture, right? So you don't know. California, it was the fires. In the Midwest, it was the floods. In the Caribbean, it was the hurricanes. In wherever that volcano is, there was a volcano that erupted and that was blocking air traffic a few years ago. It was a volcano. You don't know where so there is always a use for having some petty cash around in case there's an emergency and in case the computer systems go down, because we've learned that they do go down. So you need to have you need to be able to go back and forth.
And remember, you don't really want to save all of your money. So after you hit your emergency savings threshold, which is for some people is 3 months, 6 months, depending on how many assets or responsibilities you have. Once you hit that threshold, now you got to have your money parked in places that's making money. Because let's say, for example, the past 3 years, if you were just a saver, and you never really invested it, well, the value of the dollar decreased over the past few years. So that same $20,000 that you tucked away 3 years ago is actually worth less than $20,000 today because it just sat there. It wasn't, you didn't, yeah, go ahead.
Like a bank account type of thing where you can put your money in and it's still making money for you, not like really investing in the stock, but kind of like putting it away and it's still.
Yeah, they have like high yield bank accounts that you put your money into that bank account, but it's kind of like locked up, right? It's called like a CD. You can't touch it. If you touch it, you get penalized. But you have to, again, make sure that those bank accounts actually are hedging or making money more money than the regular inflation rate. So let's say, for example, if you found a bank account that's paying you a 5% yield, a 5% interest on your money, but inflation is 5%, well, you're just at a net zero. You're really just back into a savings account. If you found a bank account that's paying you a 5% yield, but the inflation is only 2.5%, now you're making 2.5% on your money while it's parked, right? While it's just sitting there, right? So there's other vehicles that you can put your money into that are considered safe investments, rather than just keeping it in a safe, keeping it in a bank account that is a regular savings account, because that's where your money's not making money.
Yeah. So a high yield savings account, write that down. You can look them up and compare the prices.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, so what are some of those safe investments that you're referring to?
So that's one.
High yield.
A high yield, yep, a high yield savings account. Some people say it's not really an investment, and I can hear the argument with that, but at least it's not a savings account. So you're parking your money and you want to keep it safe, but it's actually making you money in relationship to the value of the dollar because of inflation.
Really the high yield saving is the biggest one, I would say, for that. And then there's other ways that you can strategize. Like some folks will put their savings into the stock market, but in more conservative type of stocks.
Got mutual funds, because mutual funds are considered a lot more safer as well. Because let's say you have one stock in Apple versus, let's say you have $100 in the Apple stock, but you take that same $100 and you spread it across 500 stocks. Well, the odds is that's a lot safer, because the odds of 500 of those stocks crashing versus the one is slim to none. But you have lower returns, but it's still a safer investment, especially if you're coming from the lens of just diversifying your money and putting a little bit over here, just to kind of protect your wealth or protect your money, instead of having it just sitting in an account losing value.
Does this make sense? Any other questions? All right, got one last slide that I'll do. Will we do the next slide, please? So once you have all of this information, so we gave you the foundational principles that you built off. We just gave you the 7 principles of wealth. It's your job to do the research to figure out where it is you want to invest your money so that it can make you more money. We do real estate, but there's way more than real estate that's out there. There's businesses. You think of any type of business that exists under the sun, manufacturing. There's so many things you can do.
Be in the bank.
You can be, so the goal is to be the bank.
And
so,
it doesn't have to be like, how are you going to be a bank? Like, banks have billions of dollars. Like, it can be as simple as, okay, I'm going to make a financial goal to save $10,000, and as I'm saving that $10,000, I'm going to be building relationships with people that I know closely that are good with money and that they have a track record. Someone that I've been watching for the past 2, 3, 4 years as I'm building this $10,000 up. And now you turn that into just getting a small percentage of that money as you're lending it out to an individual. For example, let's say I had a relationship with Elijah, and I know that he pays his rent or his car payment on time. He does this and that, and I've been watching him. He's been operating under the principles and the values that are important to me. He's integral. If he wants to borrow $1,000, well, I can actually become the bank for him. Simple, and just put an interest rate on it. That's it. It's really simple. You don't have to have millions of dollars to become a bank. You can do it in small intervals. But the key is you have to be operating under certain principles and actually identifying those individuals that meet your principles. Because that last slide said you have to protect your money, right? I think that was number 5 or 6. So you're protecting that and growing it by doing the work that it takes. What's that work? That is actually identifying that individual and watching that individual. How is your relationship with money? Are they integral? Are they meeting your principles? If that answer is yes, then that's an easy person that you can actually lend money to and get a return. And you can create your own interest rate. You don't have to operate under the structure of a regular bank, right? You can add 20%, 25% to it. There's no paperwork involved, meaning that you're not underwriting him or you're not having him provide you with his license, this and that, all the other things that banks would actually require in order for them to lend their money to you.
So the goal is ultimately to become the bank, which is that last quadrant, the investor on the bottom right. So this is the cash flow quadrant. If you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this quadrant comes from that book. It's a great chart to look at and to get an understanding of over time. So in the top left, this is where most of us start out at, unless we come from a family that is already ahead in a different way. So we start out as an employee. We are trading our time for money. And there is nothing wrong with being an employee. There is nothing wrong with being in one of these buckets or in multiple buckets on this chart. At the end of the day, wealth is built off of accumulating enough money and putting it in investment so it grows. And you can acquire that in a multitude of ways. This quadrant tells you that the ultimate way is really getting to the investor quadrant, but you can be in multiple. So I used to be an employee along with my husband. Now we moved over to the self-employed bucket. We flip, we have rentals, we do new construction, we sell. But we're also business owners because we have that long-term rental assets of apartment buildings that we have. And so we traded time for money, and we took that money and we put it into real estate. And now we have people that we manage that help us make the money. So we have a plumber, we have a handyman, we have maintenance, we have landscaping. They help us get that money as a business owner. But we're still in the self-employed bucket because we're still trading time for money when it comes to flips and new construction. We're living in the business owner quadrant because we have these rental properties that have money coming in every month, and people are helping us to maintain that. And then there's the investor quadrant, which we started dabbling in this quadrant, which is becoming the bank. So we just became syndicators on a deal in Atlanta that's going to be closing soon, which is, I think 64 units. We made an investment of money we had sitting out with an expectation of a return of about 400%. So let's just say we put in $25,000. In the next 3 years, we expect that $25,000 to grow to $100,000, plus we get the original 25 back. So we've become the investor in that scenario. We took some money that we had and we traded it for more money. And that's the ultimate goal, which is I'm not managing that asset. All I did was put money into it. Somebody else is doing all the other work, and they just borrowed my money. And my name is on as a limited partner, so I can recoup my money if they fumble the ball somehow. I can still get my money out because it was a good asset. It's worth way more than what we're buying it for. So your goal is to work yourself through this quadrant and get yourself on the right side.
And you're going to be overlapping, because as you're saying that, I'm looking at all four, and I'm like, okay, we started off as employees, and then we crossed over to the self-employed, still being employees.
Yep.
And then
To
when
ourselves.
to ourselves, and then we were still employees, still self-employed, and still business owners. And then we kind of dropped off of the employee list, and now we're still self-employed business owners and investor. So the goal is to kind of like make your way through this and end up landing for us 100% on the investor side. That is like the most
pinnacle.
passive you can be. Active versus passive. Active is like you're actively in it, right? You're receiving the phone calls you have to actually do, whereas passive is like what we just did.
calls.
You get a phone call of, hey, I have this investment. You just vet the investment. You invest your money into it, and you sit back and you collect when that money comes back in. You don't have anything to do with anything.
Clock
you
it.
just, Yeah, clock it, right? You're just sitting back and you wait for your money, your return.
Right.
Simple. But that takes time. But so it was just like funny. I was just like
we've
kinda
worked
like
our way
playing that in
through.
my head. Yeah.
You will work your way through if you want to build wealth. And it's okay to be in more than one bucket at a time, and you might be in all four. You could be in all four at the same time. You could be in one bucket. But the goal is ultimately you got to work yourself to the right side, because you've got to stop trading your time for money.
So a lot of you all are in college, so 9 times out of 10, you should be landing a good job, which is going to provide a healthy salary. So
Stay home. Don't
yeah, right.
stack your coins.
That's one way of keeping your expenses low, but you have a large shovel at that time. So let's say you're graduating with a bachelor's, I don't know, doctorate, master's, whatever. You have the shovel, meaning that you have the engine to start investing. So you use the only thing that you have, which is the money that you're making. All right? So that's important, because if you graduate and the first thing that you do, on top of you already graduating with a tuition, not a tuition, student loans, you're going to have student loans, so that you're going to be hit with that unless you got full boats and, grants or whatever, that's fine. If not, you have student loans, so that's already going to be taking money out of your, adding to your expense. The second best thing would be to make sure that you're using the rest of your money wisely, because that's really the only thing that you have at this stage in order to get to the next level. So if you're not wise and not controlling your expensive, and even kind of like thinking your way towards it before you graduate, like practice this before you get there, so when you get there, you already know what you're gonna kind of like do. It'll be a lot easier.
I think the last thing I want to say before we open it up for any questions or aha moments is wealth should be moving down generations, right? Wealth is not designed to go up generations. Up means who's above you. It's supposed to move down. And the reason it can't go up is because if you put it up, how are you going to have it go down? Wealth is about the next generation. and the generation after that, and the generation after that. The word says a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. You cannot have an inheritance that passes up. It has to pass down. And so that's a principle that is hard for us in our communities when some of us maybe looked at this golden child, that we're the ones that are going to make it out. We're the ones that's going to save the family lineage. That may be true in essence, but I can't actually have the lineage walk in wealth by the grace of God unless I actually follow the principles of God, which is wealth has to flow down. In order to flow down, I have to be preparing for the future. So I hope you guys marinate on that one, because that can be a struggle. It's hard once you start doing a little bit well, all hands will come from different areas to come out your pocket. But you should have the 7 money principles you see here, and you should have your values and mission and vision that we've talked about for you as well. So with that being said, that's the last slide that we're going to go over on today. I want to hear, what do you guys think? Any aha moments? What stands out to you? Go ahead, Elijah.
With that chart, it's possible to be an employee and investor at the same time. So like how you said like about like me, like I work, so that money like going, like say I'm investing in stocks, so that money going into like stocks, that would be considered in the E and I quadrant?
That can be. So there are different types of stocks. There's stocks that give you dividends or stocks that give you growth. And stocks can give you both, growth and dividend. So we're going to keep with Apple since we've been talking about Apple the whole time. Apple pays a dividend and it has high growth. So essentially, you have to decide for yourself, you need wherever you put your money at to pay you without the principal being touched. So if I put $1,000 somewhere, that $1,000 needs to stay there and grow and pay me something. That's the desire. So we just put money somewhere, let's say it's $25,000, it's going to stay there and then it's going to grow, and I've agreed I don't want payouts until the end. So that stays the same, and then it grows. So your stocks, essentially the same thing. You want it to be there, but you want it to be paying you in real time to begin to replace your income of your 9 to 5. So ideally, you'd want dividend stocks that are paying you a little paycheck. And as you build those up, the paycheck gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you'll never need to take out the money you put in because it's going to give you a paycheck. And then that money you put in gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what you pass down. And it feeds the next generation, but they never get to take it out. They only get to eat off of it. It creates babies, money babies. And the money babies is what you eat. So, make sense? Makes sense to me.
What it was called when, okay, so I put the note down,
Yes.
as you said it. You need your money principal to stay there and to grow. And then I have stocks with an arrow
Dividends.
that says dividends. So that's what a dividend is?
A dividend is a paycheck. It's giving you a paycheck. But it's staying there and it's giving you interest. It's like interest. But it's not interest, but it's paying you. It's paying you while it sits there. And that's how the wealthy live. They don't live off their stocks. They live off the dividends of the stocks. They don't ever cash the stocks out. They only let the stocks create that extra money, and they live off the extra. So when they say, oh, they're worth $1 billion, they're worth $1 billion, but they don't spend $1 billion. The billion cuts them a check of 10% a year. So whatever 10% of $1 billion, that's what they're living off of. If they're a $100 million family, 10% of 100 million, that 100 million makes them 10% a year. And the goal is for it to make you as much as possible. And they literally have people managing their money to make them the highest return, and they only live off the dividend, only live off the interest if they're the bank. That's where wealth is. And I think I didn't say this. Wealth is not touched. Wealth is something you put away that makes you money for as long as you let it sit there for and keep it in a good investment. You do not live off of wealth. You live off of riches. So the rappers, the Hollywood entertainers, the movie artists, all of those people, you're seeing a lot of people with riches. They don't have wealth. They get high money and they spend it all and you get to see it. And then they make it look attractive to us, but then when Hollywood goes on strike, or when the movies change and they're not getting deals and you're hearing their house is getting foreclosed because they didn't build wealth. Because if they build wealth, they would have lived on less than they earned, and they would have always gotten paid no matter what Hollywood did, because they would have been putting money aside to always pay them. So your goal is to continually put money aside until you get to the point where you don't have to work for anybody. The government can shut down, Hollywood can shut down, AI can take over whatever it wants to take over. It doesn't matter because you put away your money that is now wealth, and it's giving you a paycheck continuously. Go ahead.
You get back interest or like a certain amount of money, like at the end of the month if you have a certain amount in your account. So like using a credit union, you think that would be helpful too?
So you can compare. If it's like a high yield savings account, then that's A-okay. So you just look at the language that they're using. So if they're saying we'll give you 5%, that's about, right now I think we're like 4.5% high yield savings accounts, the highest amounts I've seen lately. That's what they're paying. So if you see that, that's okay. That's right on par. Then you can use that. Credit unions do it, regular banks do it, online banks, they have online banks now that do it as well, that will give you that good return, 4.5% for your savings that's just sitting there. But remember, we have to be investors. So we have to save, but you need to plan to invest. Where are you investing? I don't want you to walk out of here being the king and the queen savers. I want you to be the king and queen investors. What do you want to invest in? Where do you want to invest? Is it real estate? You need to go study these things. Who are you listening to? What are you listening to? Are you listening to Earn Your Leisure? Are you listening to Wealth Without Borders? Are you listening to various podcasts, Bigger Pockets if it's real estate? Are you listening to whatever it is that really really excites you, excites your mind? Begin to study that. Begin to look for podcasts and books around those areas. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich. You should be feeding yourself in the area you want to grow in and then executing. Yes, back there.
Thank you guys so much. I had a question about the strategy for the multifamily.
Yes.
Applying the principles, being that you need to have a certain amount of money saved and everything, I wanted to know, could that be applied to an LLC being structured and receiving income from the bank, but also taking that strategy and doing something like corporate leasing? Like, I heard of corporate leasing. I just wanted to speak to you guys about it, see if like.
So we're not versed in corporate leasing like that, but we've heard about it and we've been listening to it on Bigger Pockets and different podcasts like that. So you can buy real estate in your personal name, or you can buy real estate in an LLC. If you buy it in your personal name, it's directly connected to your personal income. And we always recommend folks buy their first multi as their first home if they so desire, and allow wealth to build and offset the rent so that they can offset your mortgage so you can invest more faster. So the LLC version, you can do the limited liability company, and they will base it off of the multifamily itself. They'll only look at the multifamily, and they'll base it off of the rents that the multifamily can get, but you can't live in an LLC multifamily.
And if you do it from the single family, it affects your credit, and the bank can actually take the house back. I can't take the house back because it's considered a homestead, so you're more protected.
Yeah.
You're more
Under the LLC?
No, you're not protected with the LLC. The LLC, normally you got like hard money lenders, like non-traditional banks that will lend you the money, but they will only lend you the money if you bought the property under an LLC, because now they can come back and take the property because it's considered a company, not a personal residence. So that's another key. Plus, secondly, if it's an investment property, you want your liabilities separate, because you don't want where you're resting your head at to be in jeopardy. Because let's say one of the tenants fall and they're trying to sue you. Now they come after your LLC, which is what you own because there was an incident there versus if you had, it in your own name, it's kind of different. So it gets kind of like, it can kind of get difficult, or how would you say, not necessarily difficult, but
Just rules.
Yeah,
Just
you got to
rules.
operate under different rules when you are buying multifamily under an LLC versus buying it under your regular name. But remember, the quickest way to do it would be buying it under your own name because you get to leverage your first-time home buyer's credit, which is you'll be paying anywhere between 3 to 5% down.
Or zero.
Or zero. 0 to 5% down is the quickest way to buy a multifamily, right? So if you went the route of buying a multifamily under an LLC, 9 times out of 10, you'll be putting down 20%. Why? Because you're looked at as an investor, not a first-time home buyer. All right, so there's different ways to get to the bag, but each way there's more money that's involved in order to make your first price. Actually, I was speaking to Brian earlier, and one strategy, if you know you're going to be in the multifamily space, would be to not have 2 names tied up on your first mortgage. Why? Because now, let's say you and your wife or you and your partner or whatever went out and bought a multifamily and you use both names under, you put both names on the mortgage. Let's say it worked out good, and 2 years from now you want to repeat it again. Well, guess what? You already have 2 names other than the mortgage, so now you're looked at as an investor because you already have an owner-occupant property. So now the next property that you get, they're going to require you to put down 20, 25% because you already have one. So one strategy would be to, if one spouse can qualify for the mortgage on their own salary, have them do that, and then you still repeat it. So 2 years from now you have the other spouse that did not tie their name up on the mortgage to go out and get a multifamily. So now both times you're able to put down 0% up to 5% versus vice versa.
That's what we did.
That's what we did.
Only
And
one person is on a mortgage.
Right, but they also are getting a little bit creative. So let's say your wife is like, yeah, but I want my name on a deed. I want ownership. I don't trust you or whatever. So now you get the mortgage. She puts her name on a deed. Guess what? Now the bank does what you call a 3-year or 2-year look back, meaning that let's say you try to use that strategy, and then right before you go, your wife wants to buy a house. She takes her name off the deed. Well, the bank is going to look back 2 years to see if she was ever attached to that deed. If the answer is yes, then you have to wait until those 3 years are up before your wife can go out and get a property to utilize the first-time home buyer 0% through 5%. So you actually want to be careful with that as well, right? So there's these little strategies. That's why when my wife, she said, when it's time for you to invest or get your first property, talk to the experts so you can avoid these pitfalls, especially if you want to be in the lane of a multifamily investor building wealth through real estate. There's certain ways how to do it, and some ways will get you there faster, some ways will get you there slower. Don't think that you're asking too much. Ask a ton of questions, and don't think that you can do it by yourself. Oh, I just sat through that meeting, that seminar, it was great information, now you're going to go execute. We gave out so much information today, you're not going to be able to grasp it all, and that's not the plan. The idea is not for you to grasp it all. The idea is for us to drop seeds into your life and allow it to germinate over time, and when you're ready to execute and pull the trigger, reach out, have the conversations with the pros, because there's certain things that you probably missed out on or that we didn't even say today that will allow for a great opportunity for your first opportunity. There's so many people that we talk to that kind of picked our brain over the years, and then when it's time for them to go buy a property, they did it the opposite way, and they didn't allow the conversation to be had right before they did it, and then they come back afterwards excited to try to do it again, and we're like, that was the wrong play. Now you have to wait 5 years or 3 years, or you could have did it this way. Mind you, we do have a bunch of testimonials that follow it the right way, and they're sitting on a ton of equity, they're ready to repeat, but, you know, which side do you want to be on? All right? Remember, look at it as not competition, but complementing. Look at us as complementing where you want to go, not competition. Okay?
Just before we get off the topic of the first-time home
Yeah, go
buyer,
ahead.
is it true that it renews like every 1 to 2 years or something like that?
Well, you have to live in your house. Well, I don't think it renews. No.
It doesn't.
As long as you're the owner occupant of that property. Now, what you can do is there's a couple of rules that will allow you to break that. That is school. If you move more than 60 miles away from your original address, and is it like
a big life change?
Yeah, like a significant life change that you have to actually prove to the bank via a letter. Other than that, that first-time home buyer sticks with you.
Right, as long as you own it.
As long as you own it, because you're the owner occupant there.
Yeah.
Correct.
But you can do, but again, if you have a spouse, each one of you can stand independently as a first-time home buyer.
Right.
So
try to avoid putting your name on the deed if you could avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got to marry the right partner.
Right.
So you don't got to worry about that.
So you don't got to worry about nobody taking. And Massachusetts is community property anyway, so you still. But we don't get divorced.
No,
we
don't.
marry the right person. So, anything else? Yes, in the back.
I just have a comment on the employee. So there is things that you can do at work with your salary to invest, something like Roth IRA. I don't know if you've talked about that. And you know, the little deductions that you can do to save your money as you're thinking of what to do with it.
Yeah, so most of your jobs currently offer things like a 401k. That's just a tax code language. It's for a retirement account that your job is trying to get you to save for your future. And typically they'll put money in there if they performed well for the year. And so you can potentially get money added to your money that you put in. And so that is an option of something that you can take advantage of. This investment that I just told you guys about that we're participating in, I got that money from my last place of employment. They gave it to me through what's called a SEP, which is a separate type of retirement account based on the position that I held, and them making their goals. And so they gave me, say, $25,000, and I rolled that over into another type of investment. I didn't have to put any money into that one, luckily, but my former jobs typically match 6%. If I put in 6, they'd put in 6. So your 401ks are an option, but I want to stress that folks need to do their research to understand what they want to invest in, because just because you choose to invest in something at your job doesn't mean that it can make the best return. You still got to actively choose where you want your money to go in that investment. All right. Well, that concludes our segment. We really appreciate you guys. I hope that we gave you as much information as we could, and we thank you for having us again. We thank the pastor of the house for inviting us, as well as the youth pastor. So thank you so much. You guys are incredible.